Stuck in financial hardship, reporter Lee reunites with her first love by chance during the lowest point of her life. Now a highly successful man, he is desperate to make up for past regrets and win her back, only to be coldly rejected by Lee time and again. The dreams she once cherished in her youth have long been shattered, leaving her scraping by on exhausting field interviews. One day, she goes to the countryside to film a tidal flat documentary program. She works tirelessly to help local elders dig for seafood, but loses her footing when standing up and falls heavily into the mud. Covered in muck, she lies on the ground, feeling both helpless and bitter. She can't help but sigh that her 30s have sunk into a quagmire. So many seemingly promising beginnings have all ended in utter failure. She finishes her awkward, grueling work with a heart full of desolation. Back home, Lee has to wash her muddy clothes from the day. While hanging them out to dry, she catches a news broadcast. A rookie director has achieved instant success, winning major awards at a film festival on his debut work. She turns her head in shock, only to discover that the award-winning director is none other than her first love, Soo-bin. In his acceptance speech, Soo-bin mentions his first love, saying she planted the seed of dream in his heart. He even addresses her directly on camera, vowing to come back to see her. Lee is utterly stunned. She never imagined Soo-bin would grow up to be a film director. That night, dead drunk, she scrolls through videos of Soo-bin online. Every word of his about returning to Korea fuels her anger. She swears she will kick him away the second he sets foot back in the country. Nevertheless, Soo-bin returns to Korea. Riding in a taxi, he watches Lee's documentary program. Seeing her lying helplessly in the mud on screen, a familiar glint flickers in his eyes. Time has changed everything, yet Lee seems just the same as she always was. The next day at the television station, Lee gets into a heated argument with her producer over program arrangements. As she turns around, her eyes lock straight with Soo-bin's. Panicked, she quickly ducks under a desk. To her complete surprise, Soo-bin bends down and crawls under the desk to greet her. Lee accidentally bumps her forehead hard. It seems every encounter between them is doomed to end with a clumsy head bump. 10 years ago, Lee was using a DV camera to film the scenery outside her classroom, when Soo-bin, a new transfer student from Seoul, accidentally walked into her frame. Flustered, Lee bumped her head in her panic. During the freshman welcome ceremony, Lee faked a heatstroke collapse to escape the tedious event. Soo-bin rushed over without hesitation and carried her to the infirmary. After Lee woke up, he learned she had been acting all along just to skip the ceremony. Sincere and earnest, Soo-bin admitted he had genuinely been worried about her unsteady appearance. After ditching the ceremony, the newly acquainted pair sit together on the school corridor. They talk about dreams, and Lee asks Soo-bin what he wants for his future. Soo-bin confesses he has no personal dreams, only an obligatory goal: to become a doctor. As the son and grandson of doctors, he has always lived up to his family's expectations, with no choice of his own. When Soo-bin asks about her dream, Lee answers with a bright smile that she wants to become a film director, a career she thinks is incredibly cool. After skipping class that day, Lee heads to a hospital near the school, sets up her DV camera on the rooftop, and plans to film the sunset. She accidentally dozes off while waiting. Soo-bin follows her quietly and stays by her side in silence, keeping her company from evening until nightfall. Lee wakes up with a start, shocked to find Soo-bin beside her. She learns this is his father's hospital, composes herself, and packs up her camera, planning to sneak out to avoid the hospital patrols. When they are spotted by patrol staff, Lee grabs Soo-bin's hand and runs. As they sprint together, her hair tie slips off. Unconsciously, their pinky fingers interlock tightly. Watching her tie up her hair, radiant and bright, Soo-bin's eyes light up with a glow he has never felt before. The next morning, they head to school together. Spotting Lee filming by the roadside, Soo-bin quickly made up an excuse to get off the car. Lee was shooting an elderly grandmother, hoping to capture the life stories etched on her face, yet she felt something vital was missing from the footage. Soo-bin offered her a suggestion: adding shadows across the grandmother's features would deepen the emotional texture of the shot. To help with the filming, he held a branch and waved it gently in front of the old woman, creating dappled shifting light and shadow. Mid-shoot, a drunken man nearby suddenly shoved the grandmother to the ground, snatched Lee's DV camera and hurled it away. In that split second, Soo-bin threw himself forward to shield the camera with his whole body. Even as the drunkard kicked and beat him, he clutched the DV tightly against his chest and refused to let go. Later, Lee tended to Soo-bin's wounds, yet all Soo-bin cared about was the condition of her camera. The device had sustained visible damage, so Soo-bin stuck band-aids over the cracked parts before confessing his feelings out of the blue. Bewildered, Lee stared at him as Soo-bin spoke softly from the bottom of his heart. He had wealth, fame and nearly everything one could wish for, yet he had never possessed a genuine dream, something Lee had always owned. To him, Lee had always glowed brilliantly from within. After pouring out his love, Soo-bin handed her a hair tie. When Lee tied her hair back with it, memories washed over her. Once, this pretty little hair tie had been her most precious possession, but 10 years had passed, and everything had changed beyond recognition. Chai pushed the uninvited Subin toward the back door, making it clear she did not welcome his return at all. Subin leaned in with an intimate gesture, cupping the side of her head to ask if she had a boyfriend and inviting her out for a meal. Annoyance flooded Chai's eyes. She snapped that she had cursed him every single day all these years. Now he had become a Hollywood director, seizing the filmmaking dream that once belonged to her, and all she felt was bitter jealousy. After shaking him off, Chai met her friend Soo-Jian for fried chicken. Soo-Jian asked how she felt after running into Subin again. She laid out her true thoughts. She had imagined countless ways they might cross paths once more, but never once pictured him as a successful director while she remained a struggling, penniless reporter whose own dreams had crumbled to dust. The next day, Subin ran in to deliver man Soo-Jian at a shop and begged for Chai's phone number. Soo-Jian flatly refused. Chai was his dearest friend, and he knew every detail of the complicated history between her and Subin. Later, Subin overheard Soo-Jian on a phone call mentioning Chai planned to sell her collection of film videotapes on a second-hand marketplace website. That night, Subin logged onto the platform and searched the listings. He spotted a set of tapes whose cover photos bore the logo of a video rental store, one run by Chai's mother. A faint smile tugged at his lips. Desperate to reconnect with her, he messaged her posing as a buyer, saying he was willing to purchase the entire collection in one go, with only one condition: he would only complete the transaction in person. The following day, Chai arrived at the designated subway station hauling 2 large bags full of videotapes, only to find Subin standing right by the exit. She tilted her head, trying to walk past him as if nothing had happened, but his sharp eyes caught her immediately. When she realized the buyer was Subin, she swore she would never sell the tapes to him until he offered 10 times her asking price. Subin asked if selling these cherished possessions pained her. He had read every word of her product description carefully. In the listing, she wrote that these videotapes were like old friends who had accompanied her through her brightest youthful days, embodiments of her abandoned dreams. Subin could easily picture her crying as she typed those lines. He then pulled out a script they had written together years ago, proposing to adapt it into a feature film and asking Chai to collaborate with him to finish its ending. Chai's gaze turned stubborn. This manuscript represented their shared youthful aspirations, yet she picked up her coffee and poured it all over the pages. That would be her final answer to him. Rain began pouring down as they parted. Subin chased after her, holding an umbrella to shield her from the downpour. Standing in the rain, Chai's suppressed emotions finally shattered. She could not fathom how Subin could return so casually after all this time. To make him taste the loneliness and heartache she had endured alone all those years, she snatched the umbrella from his hand and walked away under its cover, leaving Subin exposed to the cold, relentless rain. Having achieved great success in his career, Subin returns to his hometown, determined to reconcile with his teenage sweetheart Chai. Yet unresolved wounds from the past stand between them, and Chai turns him down coldly every single time. Even after years apart, Chai still holds dear the tender days they spent together back in their senior year of high school. Back then, she was obsessed with filming and funded a zombie short film entirely on her own. Subin volunteered to join her crew to help out. Filming filled Chai with burning passion, her eyes glowing with longing for a career in cinema, and that radiance drew Subin to her dream as well. The pair were reprimanded by their teacher for neglecting their studies to shoot footage, yet they laughed easily side by side as they served their punishment, and Subin even learned local dialect from her. Late one night, Chai snuck Subin back to her place to review the finished short film together, praising the shots he had captured behind the camera. After watching the movie, a resolve took root deep in Subin's heart. He vowed to chase the same dream of becoming a director as Chai. Chai warned Subin that the path of a filmmaker would be brutally tough, but he remained unwavering. It was Chai who had helped him finally find a dream worth chasing, and from that moment onward, he wanted to step into the warm world of cinema just like her. Secretly, Chai thought Subin would never realize that it was actually him who had led her into this bright, joyful world. To her, the most beautiful subject captured through her lens had always been Subin. Soon afterward, Chai won an award at the local youth film festival. Subin rushed over in a hurry to present her with a bouquet of flowers, congratulating her on taking the first step toward her dream. On the day of the award ceremony, Chai invited Subin to co-write scripts and make films with her, and he agreed without hesitation. He could not imagine how joyful it would be to pursue their dreams side by side with her, but reality quietly began to crush their youthful aspirations. Subin's father, a doctor, pressed heavy pressure on him, warning that imperfection would never be tolerated in their family. Subin had to live up to the family's long-held expectations. Meanwhile, Chai's mother planned to sell all her daughter's movie videotapes, dismissing them as worthless junk. That night, Chai broke down crying in front of her mother. She did not ask her mother to support her filmmaking dream. All she begged was that her mother would not destroy the precious passion she held close. That evening, both heartbroken Ai-Chai and dejected Subin wandered down to the riverside by coincidence. There, Ai-Chai told him the fable of the fox who called the grapes sour simply because he could not reach them. To Ai-Chai, even if the grapes hanging high on the vine really were tart, it did not matter, at least she had gotten to taste them for herself. That was her attitude toward dreams. Even if bitterness awaited at the end of the road, she would still give it her all. Subin spoke softly, promising that if Ai-Chai wanted to pluck the grapes of her dreams, he would willingly act as her ladder. She could step on his back and climb as high as she needed. One day, after watching a short film directed by Subin together, Ai-Chai had a sudden idea. The two of them would write, direct and star in their own romance film, complete with scenes of young love and a kiss. She pursed her lips and gestured for Subin to kiss her, but he froze and held back, promising he would take the initiative once they both got accepted into university film departments. Ai-Chai grumbled, wondering how he could possibly wait that long. In the days that followed, they brainstormed their upcoming scripts together. Though small disagreements flared up now and then, those sweet memories were too wonderful to ever forget. Now, a decade has passed. Having lost sight of her old dream, Ai-Chai scrapes by as a reporter. One day, she is filming a grape-picking variety show when Subin suddenly walks over holding a bouquet of flowers. Only then does Ai-Chai learn that he is the special guest invited to the program. Before the interview, Ai-Chai pressed Subin to explain why he had shown up uninvited. Subin said nothing in reply. Instead, he saw right through her inner unease. Ever since they were young, Ai-Chai had the habit of biting her lip whenever she grew nervous. Not backing down, Ai-Chai warned him she would not hold back if he acted out of line on the show. Later during filming, Ai-Chai forced a bright smile and put on an act of warm, easy banter with Subin. Yet the instant the director called cut, her cheerful expression vanished in the blink of an eye. On camera, Subin brought up his upcoming project Love Song of the Capital. At the title, Ai-Chai's eyes flew wide. It was the script the two of them had co-written 10 years prior. In the next shooting segment, Subin referenced the fable of the fox who called the grapes sour out of reach, hinting that Ai-Chai was just like that fox, deluding herself. Ai-Chai raised her voice sharply. That fox had hurt itself trying to reach the grapes, only for the ladder beneath its feet to be kicked away. Wasn't giving up on the grapes only natural after all that? But Subin countered that if she wished to reach them, she could always climb using a friend's back as a ladder. Stubborn as ever, Ai-Chai retorted that the friend might snatch all the grapes for themselves, leaving the fox wounded with nothing to show for its pain. Subin was about to respond when Ai-Chai suddenly grabbed the collar of his shirt, reminding him every staff member on set could hear their private conversation. Her rough tug popped a button clean off his blouse, forcing Ai-Chai to sew it back on for him. As she sat inches away, a familiar soft glow flickered in Subin's eyes. Ai-Chai cut through the tender atmosphere with cold realism. She was willing to sell him the script Love Song of the Capital for 30 million won. Subin, however, insisted they film it side by side. To him, the movie meant nothing without her involvement, and he had no intention of cutting ties with her entirely. As he spoke, he closed the distance between them with an intimate, smoldering posture. He swore he would give back the dream he had seemingly stolen from her and return her first love along with it. He leaned down toward her, tilting his head as if to kiss her. Right before his lips could touch hers, Ai-Chai grabbed the bouquet and struck him hard with it. She would never forget how cruelly Subin had treated her 10 years ago, during their senior year exam week. Subin had skipped school for days on end. Ai-Chai waited outside his house for multiple days, yet he never opened the door. Finally, on a rainy day, he ran after her with an umbrella as she wandered dejectedly through the downpour. Ai-Chai threw her arms tightly around him, relieved he was unharmed. To her devastation, Subin delivered terrible news. He would skip the school examinations and travel to the United States to study medicine, following the life his family had mapped out for him. Sobbing, Ai-Chai beat against his chest, reminding him of their promise to chase their filmmaking dreams together. Once her tears subsided, she handed him their unfinished draft of Love Song of the Capital, leaving the choice of their future entirely up to him. That night, Ai-Chai had already boarded the coach back to her hometown, yet she could not bear to leave without settling things with Subin and got off the bus before departure. On the road, she bent to retrieve her fallen hair tie and was hit by a car. She slipped into a coma that dragged on for an extremely long time. When she woke, she received the crushing news of her father's passing. Overwhelmed by grief, she poured all her energy into physical rehabilitation, abandoning all thoughts of her cinematic dream from that moment on. 10 years had slipped by. Staring at her reflection and replaying Subin's words from that day in her mind, Ai-Chai broke down into quiet weeping. Her friend Soo-jian urged her to accept Subin's offer. Life was fleeting. She had already let their chance slip away once. Did she intend to lose it a second time? Did she not mourn all those days they had poured every ounce of effort into their shared dream? No matter how her friend pleaded, Ai-Chai clung to her hollow, prideful excuses. Thanks to Subin's appearance, the episode became a massive hit. The producer told Ai-Chai to invite Subin back for the second installment of the show, promising her an independent program slot if she succeeded. Left with no other choice, Aichai headed back to her hometown to meet Subin once more. No one could predict whether this reunion would allow them to return to the bond they once shared. After a decade apart, news reporter Jae reunites with her first love Subin, whom she knew back in high school. Drunk and vulnerable, she finally confesses the feelings she has hidden for years. She wakes up the next morning sober, shocked to find herself sleeping at Subin's place, eager to seize a long-awaited promotion opportunity. Jae returns to her hometown to find Subin, hoping to persuade him to appear on her program once again. Yet the moment she steps into his house, Subin douses her entirely with a shower spray. He hands her fresh clothes to change into and reveals that he has recently noticed being followed. After looking into the matter, he discovered the stalker was none other than Jae's younger brother. Instantly realizing Jae had sent him to find out where he lived, after changing her clothes, Jae suddenly presents him with a bouquet of flowers, speaking softly and trying to win him over. Under the pretense of gratitude, she invites him to star on her show. Determined to convince him, she follows closely at his heels, admitting that if Subin agrees to participate in the program, she will secure a crucial breakthrough in her career. Subin does not give an immediate answer. Instead, he takes Jae out for dinner and carefully picks out all the carrots she dislikes from her meal. On their way back, the program producer calls Jae, pressing her repeatedly about her progress and urging her to convince Subin as soon as possible. Subin takes the phone unexpectedly and firmly agrees to appear on the show. He states plainly that if appearing on television can change Jae's life for the better, he is willing to do it. Along with his promise, Subin hands Jae the script they co-wrote years ago, Melody of Sincere Love. He leaves the entirely decision to her, whether to complete this unfinished script or abandon it for good. As he gives her the script, Subin finally explains the truth behind their separation 10 years ago. On that day Jae had waited for him at his house. He had been locked indoors by his father. Having failed his academic exams and refused to apply for medical school as his family demanded, he was punished and confined to his room. After 10 days of being trapped indoors, Subin finally gave in and agreed to study abroad in the United States as his father wished. He tells Jae he does not expect her understanding or forgiveness after all these years. He only hopes the truth will ease the hurt in her heart a little. Yet Jae finds no comfort in his explanation. To her, being pitted by him is far more painful than remembering him as the cold, unforgivable boy from her memories. Unlike Subin, who now lives a stable life, Jae still struggles tirelessly to make ends meet. Overwhelmed by the hardships of life, she hesitates before tossing their old script into the trash. A few days later, Subin finds the sweater he once lent her hanging at his doorway, returned without a word. A wave of sorrow washes over him. While crossing the road, Jae's bag is knocked open, and a hair tie falls out. The trivial object reminds her of the one Subin once gave her, as well as the car accident that happened 10 years ago. Frozen in place, she fails to notice an oncoming car speeding toward her. This time, Subin rushes forward just in time to protect her. Staring at the man before her eyes, Jae feels a surreal overlap of past and present, as if he has returned to her side once more, as if all the tragic events that followed had never happened at all. With tears welling up in her eyes, she pulls Subin into a tight embrace. After calming her emotions, Jae confesses to Subin that she no longer hates carrots. As a journalist, she has long been forced to let go of petty preferences and adapt to everything life throws at her. Her tone softens with sorrow as she murmurs how time changes everything. Beautiful memories fade, yet painful ones remain vivid and fresh. Subin reassures her that this is exactly why they should hold tightly to their precious good memories. His words gradually change Jae's heart. That night, she retrieves the discarded script from the trash. Every line recorded on the pages holds her brightest and most precious youthful memories. 10 years ago, Jae and Subin had spent countless days brainstorming the plot, imagining every twist and fate their story's characters might face. Staring at her old photo from the script competition she once won, Jae's heart stirs gently, and a newfound courage slowly begins to take root within her. Subin meets up with his close friend Representative Sue, the owner of a film production company. In front of him, Subin falls into reminiscence. He recalls the first time he came to see Representative Sue, penniless and clutching only the script he had polished tirelessly through years of singing practice. For Subin, that script had been his driving force and the pillar of his dreams. Now, however, he cannot help but wonder, if Melody of the Capital had stayed with Jae back then, would she have pushed forward bravely just like him? Would she never have abandoned her dream? Jae's best friend Xiaojian is also chasing his dream of becoming an outstanding actor. In reality, he can only land insignificant extra roles. He keeps auditioning for major parts relentlessly, only to fail every single time. Recently, he fortuitously crossed paths with Hana, a top-tier A-list actress in South Korea who has grown up under the spotlight since childhood. One day, after wrapping up the first half of her shoot, Hana sits on a roadside motorcycle eating a rice roll. Hearing Xiaojian's stomach growling loudly, she hands him her food. Learning that she is sitting on Xiaojian's motorcycle, Hana refuses to get off and instead asks him to give her a ride. Xiaojian agrees and carefully fastens a safety helmet on her. Hana sits happily on the back seat, wrapping her arms tightly around his waist, letting go of all her troubles in the moment. That night, Xiaojian heads up to the rooftop of his apartment building. only to find Hannah waiting for him there. He asks curiously how she found his home address. Hannah does not answer, but shares how it felt to ride on his motorcycle that afternoon. It was a feeling she had never experienced before. She asks if he can keep accompanying her like this, and Xiaojian nods eagerly. Hannah then confesses candidly that due to her long-term acting career, she has mastered all kinds of skills yet has never learned how to make friends. Moved by her words, Xiaojian asks if she wants to be his friend. Hannah smiles and agrees, returning the safety helmet to him as a gift for their new friendship. Spotting her phone number written inside the helmet, Xiaojian smiles softly. Meanwhile, Yuki is called out by her producer under the pretense of a work meeting, only to realize he merely wants her to work as his designated driver. Frustrated and speechless, she is saved by the sudden appearance of Subin, who lies that Yuki has been drinking and cannot drive. Yuki plays along, pretending to be intoxicated. Subin pushes the producer aside and pulls Yuki protectively into his arms. Yet desperate to keep her job, Yuki immediately defends the producer timidly, claiming he is actually a good person. Subin refuses to indulge him, pointing out bluntly that it has always been Yuki who sustains the program's ratings, while the incompetent producer only takes credit for her hard work. Having had enough, Yuki snatches the car keys, forces the producer into the car, and speeds wildly along the road, sending him jolting and bouncing around the vehicle. She then yanks him out of the car, declares that she is cutting all ties with him, and finally hurls his car keys straight into the river. Subin follows closely behind. Noticing her shirt has been torn by the producer, he takes off his coat and drapes it gently over her shoulders. The two sit down to drink, and Yuki pours out all her pent-up grievances. She reveals she took the job solely to pay off her family's debts and has stuck with it for years. No matter how hard she works, she could be replaced at any moment. Tears well up in her eyes as she complains that Subin, this stubborn man, keeps following her and won't even let her cry freely. Subin gently wipes away her tears, confessing that Yuki has always lingered in his mind, past and present. Yuki finally voices her true feelings. What she truly regrets is not missing Subin, but abandoning her own dream. The next morning, Yuki wakes up drunk and bewildered on a hotel bed, hearing the sound of a hairdryer coming from the bathroom. She hurries to get dressed and sneak away, but the doorbell rings suddenly. Representative Su has come to visit Subin. Panicked, Yuki hides in the bathroom and claps her hand over Subin's mouth to keep him quiet. She accidentally triggers the shower, drenching Subin completely. Face to face with the shirtless Subin standing inches away, Yuki's heart races uncontrollably. That night, Yuki got dead drunk in front of Subin. Staggering clumsily and losing her poise, she slurringly proposed collaborating with him on a film. Mid-conversation, she nearly slipped and fell into the water. Subin reached out and caught her just in time, and Yuki stumbled straight into his arms. When she woke up sober the next morning, memories of all her awkward mishaps the previous night flooded back. Yuki planned to slip away quietly, yet Subin's friend dropped by unexpectedly. Panicking, she hastily hid in the bathroom. Right then, Subin stepped out after a shower. At the sight of his bare torso, Yuki darted her gaze about, overwhelmed with embarrassment. Gentle as always, Subin carefully dabbed the swollen skin around her puffy eyes. Yuki forced herself to stay calm and asked what had transpired the night before. She could only vaguely recall agreeing to co-create a film. Subin put on a mysterious air and teased that she had been unusually forward. Yuki's cheeks burned hot, only to find he was referring to her secretly terminating her apartment lease. She was utterly shocked. When she returned home, she found the realtor showing the unit to prospective tenants, leaving her without a place to stay. With no escape route left, she had no choice but to seriously consider the film collaboration. The following day, Yuki arrived to sign the contract with the production company. Hesitant and torn, she could not bring herself to stamp the document. Subin comforted her softly. This journey belonged to her alone, and she deserved to write its ending on her own terms. No matter what the outcome might be, he would remain by her side. His words calmed her unease. She made up her mind, signed the contract, and formally resigned from her post as a journalist. Representative Su, the head of the production company and Subin's closest friend, promised to find a pleasant studio for Yuki and Subin. Until the studio was ready, the two would stay in a hotel to work on their script together. After checking into the hotel, Yuki set up her laptop and equipment in one go, vowing to rekindle her creative passion that had died out years ago. Yet the flame had been extinguished for far too long. She stared at her computer screen for ages, unable to type a single line. Noticing her struggle, Subin suggested she watch films for inspiration. He picked a timeless romance movie. As they watched the lead couple running through torrential rain, both began wondering about the past. If Subin had not let Yuki leave back then, if he had chosen to face an uncertain future alongside her, would everything have turned out differently? By the time the film ended, Yuki had unconsciously fallen asleep, leaning her head on Subin's shoulder. That night, Subin opted to sleep on the sofa and gave the bedroom to her. A faint smile crossed his face as he slipped the hair tie she had left on the sofa onto his wrist. When she woke, Yuki sat before the computer again. Just like the day before, she racked her brains but could not come up with any plot ideas. Subin messaged her now and then, every message filled with encouragement and companionship, telling her not to burden herself excessively. Lee headed to the park to clear her mind and overheard two elderly men discussing young people's careers, complaining that many youngsters preferred idle, aimless lives. Lee sighed. Refusing to become an unemployed drifter, she contacted Xiaojian and asked him to find her a part-time job. Instead of staring blankly at an empty document all day, she might as well earn money. Her part-time job was at a shopping mall. Drawing on her hosting experience, Lee hosted a lucky draw campaign for a brand. Subin happened to visit the mall and watched her host energetically on stage. He turned around and left silently. Once her shift ended, Lee spotted Subin waiting for her at the mall entrance. On impulse, she grabbed a mascot head nearby and pulled it over her head. Still, Subin recognized her instantly. She tried to run away wearing the headgear, only to stumble and crash right in front of him. Now that her little trick had been exposed, Lee stopped hiding. She pulled off the mascot head and asked why he was not angry with her. Subin remained tender. He understood how much courage it had taken for Lee to resolve to chase her dream once more. He knew that for her, restarting the film project must be fraught with fear. Subin only hoped she could set aside her anxieties, trusting that together, they could create something extraordinary. Back at the hotel that night, Subin's words lingered in Lee's mind. Gradually, resolve flickered in her eyes. The next day was the day Lee planned to move. When she did not emerge for a long time, Subin feared she had given up. Just then, Lee hurried over to the car. She had only been running late. Subin helped her load the luggage into the trunk. Lee spoke firmly. Starting now, she would work alongside Subin to create something great. That evening at home, Lee brought up her plan to make a film again to her mother. Her mother still disapproved, insisting that filmmaking was a dream only wealthy children could afford. Lee mentioned Subin. If Subin could pursue this dream, why could she not? From what she knew, Subin had even cut ties with his father for the sake of cinema. When her mother learned Subin was her partner on the project, she opposed the idea even more firmly, convinced Subin had brought great misfortune upon her daughter years ago. Overcome by emotion, Lee blurted out that if she had known how things would turn out, she would have ignored her family's troubles and chased her dream without hesitation. Back then, now determined to pursue her dream, Lee began formally discussing the script with Subin. They planned to revise the first draft they had written 10 years ago from their present perspective. To facilitate collaboration, they shared an online document. Under Subin's guidance, Lee slowly regained her creative rhythm. Her mind was no longer blank, and her writing soon won praise from him. Between writing sessions, Lee contacted her best friend Surin. Surin warned her that living and working under the same roof as a man would inevitably lead to charged, intimate moments. Lee quickly cut her off, declaring she would never let anything reckless happen. Surin was about to go on a blind date. Her ideal partner was a man who was both sensual and intelligent. By chance, she ran into Subin's good friend Representative Su right by the elevator doors. She took an instant liking to him. The elevator was crowded, and her lipstick accidentally smudged onto Representative Su's shirt. When they stepped out, Surin chased after him boldly, scribbling her contact information on his shirt and telling him to get in touch to claim dry cleaning fees. Her blind date that evening turned out to be a tedious, middle-aged man. As he rambled on endlessly, Surin was overcome with impatience. Her thoughts drifted constantly to Representative Su. She suddenly realized he fit every detail of her ideal type. Making up her mind, she left the blind date behind and rushed to the reception desk to look for him. Representative Su was there at that very moment. Surin summoned all her courage and asked if he would date her. Just then, Representative Su received a phone call and addressed the person on the line as Darling. Surin took the hint and left promptly. In truth, the caller was Subin. Representative Su had only pretended to have a lover to gently turn down her advance. Subin told Representative Su that the first draft of the script would be finished in roughly 2 weeks. To focus on meeting the deadline, Lee turned down all part-time work and switched off her phone. When Lee ran into obstacles while writing, Subin walked over. He placed one hand on the back of her chair and the other on the desk to analyze the script alongside her. He stood far too close, making Lee grow flustered. Before she knew it, she impulsively took off Subin's glasses. Subin froze and asked what she was doing. Lee snapped out of her daze, embarrassed by her lapse in self-control. She grabbed her laptop and hurried outside. Staring at her screen, Lee instinctively typed one character, followed by a long string of ambiguous ellipses. When Subin saw the document, he smiled softly, typing a reply. He had already guessed her hidden feelings. Lee could not focus the entire night, her mind filled with thoughts of Subin. Subin grabbed an umbrella and went out to search for her. Upon hearing his voice, Lee finally sorted out her true feelings. Out in the nighttime rain, Lee ran under his umbrella. She drew close to him and leaned in for a kiss, and Subin surrendered to his own longing as well. Reunited after years of twists and turns, the long-dormant love between the two slowly blooms once again. Yet no one could have imagined that a car accident from a decade ago stands like an insurmountable barrier between them. After the secret hidden for years is finally uncovered, Subin at last learns that all of Itsai's pain and suffering back then was all because of her daughter. If it were you, how would you face this cruel truth? Just moments earlier, Lee had acted on impulse and kissed Subin boldly. Yet when Subin responded tenderly and leaned closer, Lee pulled back hastily. Back at the hotel, she tried to mask her turbulent emotions and pretend nothing had happened. She told Subin to forget the kiss, making an excuse that she had been writing scenes with romantic kisses lately and had simply lost herself in the story for a split second. This flimsy excuse failed to convince Subin. She urged Yuki earnestly to face her heart and speak her true feelings. Her secret laid bare, Yuki could only promise nothing like this would happen again. Her words left Subin utterly disappointed. She knew Yuki's nature well, timid and evasive in relationships, prone to self-deception and avoiding difficult truths. Subin slammed her bedroom door in frustration, though her heart was in turmoil. She did not dislike Yuki, she just could not accept how she shrank back instead of acknowledging her genuine feelings. Dejected, Subin told Yuki to go home. Provoked, Yuki turned and left at once. But after she was gone, Subin grew anxious. She quickly called Yuki's younger brother and asked him to find and look after her. With nowhere else to go, Yuki headed to the restaurant run by her mother. Her mother had prepared dinner and handed over the family seal to her. For years, the mother had silently watched her daughter push herself relentlessly, climbing mountains with injuries, forcing herself into the sea despite a fear of water. She saw every ounce of quiet endurance and strength, and her heart ached for her child. She hoped Yuki would break free from her chains and live solely for herself. She also gave her a serious warning. If she intended to keep working and staying alongside Subin long-term, she needed to confess the truth about the car accident from years ago. Secrets buried deep would inevitably become a rift between them. Meanwhile, Subin ran into an elderly acquaintance who suddenly collapsed. She rushed the old man to hospital without hesitation. The attending doctor was a high school classmate she had not seen in years. He had settled down with a family and led a quiet, ordinary life, stirring a wave of emotion within Subin. Late that night, Yuki grew worried waiting for news of Subin. After getting in touch, she learned this hospital was managed by Subin's father. Only then did she discover that Subin, the rising young director, was the hospital director's daughter. Once the nurses at the hospital found out about her background, they praised her outstanding talent and privileged family. However, Subin's father remained cold and ordered everyone to keep a low profile, refusing to acknowledge his daughter. Shortly afterward, father and daughter crossed paths in an elevator. The moment Subin laid eyes on him, unmistakable fear flickered across her face. Without uttering a word, her father shut off the elevator power. Darkness closed in, and the lift plummeted. Horrifying childhood memories of being locked away by her father flooded back, pushing Subin to the brink of breakdown. Still icy, her father told her that if she had chosen to cut ties with the family, she ought to stay away completely. At the critical moment, Yuki arrived in a hurry. She wrapped her arms around the distraught Subin and soothed her gently. Back at the hotel, Subin locked herself inside her room. Yuki waited silently outside and refused to leave. After a while, Subin sat down on the other side of the door. Separated by a thin panel, they chatted about their former classmate they had run into. Yuki said that although their classmate had entered a hasty marriage following an accident, she had found simple, stable happiness. Subin instantly understood her quiet kindness. This was Yuki's unique way of comforting her. Being with her always allowed Subin to temporarily escape all the noise and distress elsewhere. The bond between Xiaojian and the artist Hana was slowly deepening. Hana's new drama was airing, yet audiences criticized her stiff acting due to her lack of experience portraying romance. Overwhelmed by negative comments, she sank into low spirits. She came to the restaurant alone to clear her head and chanced upon Xiaojian, who worked a part-time job there. When she overheard strangers making malicious remarks about Hana and her mother, Xiaojian stepped forward to defend her, nearly getting into a fight. He soon caught up with the dejected Hana as she left, then took her for a ride on his motorcycle to ease her stress. As they rode through a tunnel, the worn-out Hana rested her head lightly against Xiaojian's back. In that instant, she truly felt that he was the only person who could free her temporarily from public scrutiny and exhaustion. On the rooftop of his home, Xiaojian shared his family story with Hana. He had grown up relying solely on his father. Fascinated by Hong Kong films and Takashi Kaneshiro, he had dreamed of becoming an actor. Yet his journey toward this dream had been extremely tough. After years of striving, he had achieved almost nothing and remained an unknown rookie. His father had given him a 10-year deadline. If he failed to make his dream come true within a decade, he would have to return home for good. To Hana's surprise, she did not find Xiaojian's father harsh at all. From her perspective, Xiaojian always had a warm safe haven to fall back on, something she envied deeply. Hana then opened up about her own struggles. A child star since childhood, she seemed to lead a glamorous life on the surface, but was trapped under her mother's overwhelming shadow. Her mother, a former actress herself, had raised her with extreme strictness, treating her merely as a tool for the camera while never caring about her true feelings or inner pain. Listening to her story, Xiaojian smiled gently and told Hana she could break free from the cage confining her anytime she wanted. Staring at his warm smile, Hana's eyes sparkled. For the first time in her life, she thought a man's smile could be so breathtakingly beautiful. Meanwhile, the relationship between Yuki's best friend Silang and Representative Su was quietly developing as well. One day, Representative Su found a string of phone numbers and a lipstick mark on his shirt. He suddenly recalled that Silang had accidentally bumped into him in the elevator that day and mustered up the courage to confess her desire to date him. With the memory fresh in his mind, Representative Su called Silang without hesitation. The two met again, and strong chemistry sparked instantly between them, leading to a passionate night together. However, Silang left in a hurry the next morning, leaving him only an unforgettable silhouette. When Representative Soo called her again the following day, he found he had been blocked. Unwilling to let their bond end just like that, he went to Silang's workplace and applied to be a male guest on the romance reality show she produced. Silang felt utterly awkward, having no wish to mix their one-night stand with work. Contrary to her expectations, the producer strongly approved of Representative Soo's participation after learning about their encounter. Helplessly, Silang reminded him that the show contract strictly prohibited cast members from dating during filming. She assured him firmly that what had happened between them was nothing more than a one-night fling. Nevertheless, Representative Soo remained confident, convinced there would be more between him and Silang. That night, Jae, Subin, and their old college classmates and spouses dined together. During the meal, the classmates offered plenty of valuable suggestions for Jae and Subin's script. Throughout the gathering, however, Subin's attention was fixed on her ongoing text conversation with her mother. Growing anxious after receiving no reply for a long time, Subin rushed home immediately after dinner. Upon getting a call from her mother, she found her mother had just suffered domestic violence at her father's hands. Furious at the sight of her mother's bruised face, Subin finally snapped. She mustered all her courage, walked into the room, grabbed her father fiercely, and demanded that he never show up before her and her mother again. Instead of remorse, her father let out a cruel laugh. He brought up the car accident from 10 years ago, revealing that Jae had nearly lost her life rushing to catch up with Subin. He sneered that Subin was not only a blemish in his own life but also in Jae's. On the day of the accident a decade ago, Jae's mother had grabbed Subin in heart-wrenching grief, blaming the timid, runaway Subin for her daughter's near-death tragedy. Crushed by the long-buried truth, Subin ran alone through the dark night. Thinking of the permanent scar on Jae's leg and all the unspoken resentment directed at her over the years, she finally realized how much she had missed and lost. After learning about the car accident 10 years ago, Subin rushed back to the studio. Staring at the scars on Jae's legs, Subin asked if those wounds were all because of her. Jae fell silent. Subin's eyes welled up with tears, overwhelmed by guilt. Composing herself, Subin spoke gravely. She did not want Jae to pretend the car accident had never happened. Jae repeated the words she had said long before. The person she truly resented was not Subin, but herself. What was more, the incident was in the past and could never be undone. Still, Subin apologized. She believed guilt and remorse were what she deserved to bear. Jae's mother thought that now that Subin knew the truth of the past, she must take full responsibility for Jae when it came to filming the movie. Her younger brother, however, suspected Subin's affection for Jae might fade. He claimed a man could not stay beside a woman whom he had made weep. But the brother was wrong. After uncovering the past, Subin doted on Jae constantly. She kept asking about Jae's leg and the level of pain, jotting down notes every time. When Jae's loose hair distracted her while writing, Subin gently fetched a hair tie. When Jae's eyes grew sore staring at the screen, Subin quickly handed her eye drops. To ease Jae's workload, Subin carried soft blankets into her room. After meals, she voluntarily washed dishes and handled housework, and even bought a massage chair specially for Jae. Following days of hard work, the two finally finished the first draft of the screenplay. To celebrate, Jae and Subin drank together that night, sharing funny jokes. Little did Jae know, her greatest challenges were only just beginning. The next day, Subin invited familiar crew members, including the director of photography and gaffer, assembling staff for nearly every position. Most of the crew planned to head out for location scouting, yet Subin told Jae to stay at the studio for a script meeting with the remaining team. Jae understood Subin had left her out of the scouting trip out of concern for her leg, worried that long hikes and mountain climbing would take a toll on her. Yet Subin refused to discuss the matter and made the decision unilaterally. What troubled Jae even more was that during the script discussion with the other crew members, everyone communicated through a group chat, everyone except her. As the others chatted animatedly based on messages in the group, Jae had no chance to join the conversation. When work ended in the evening, several crew members left the studio, saying they were heading back to their dormitory. Jae could tell they were secretly dining together without her. If her brother had not called her right then, she would have been too embarrassed to bear it. The following day, Subin held a discussion with the location scouting crew inside the studio, once again excluding Jae. For a moment, Jae felt like an irrelevant outsider. Once all the staff departed, Jae finally voiced her true feelings to Subin. She did not want the crew to see her merely as Subin's first love, someone included and cared for only out of old affection. Several nights later, the whole crew gathered for a dinner. Jae tried her best to fit in, yet she could not find any topics to join in. Most crew members boasted rich filmmaking experience or graduated from prestigious film schools. Everyone carried impressive credentials, except Jae, who had nothing comparable. She also overheard the assistant director speaking ill of her behind her back, complaining that she was only a journalist with no formal education, professional experience or finished works, unworthy of stepping straight into the role of director. Even facing disregard and sarcasm, Jae forced a smile and tried to converse with everyone. Subin saw everything. When Jae stepped away, Subin spoke frankly to the assistant director. Ballad of the Capital was the screenplay Jae wrote during her senior year of high school. That was exactly why she had handed full authority of script meetings to Jae. She chose to go location scouting separately because she believed this arrangement would be more efficient. Subin hoped she would never hear anyone complain about Jae again. She had unwavering faith in Jae's ability from the very beginning. Though disheartened, Jae resolved to pull herself together. She called Subin over to the sports field and asked her to watch her run. Determined to prove she was fully recovered, Jae pushed herself to the limit, enduring the sharp pain in her legs. After several laps, Jae laid bare her heart to Subin. By constantly shielding her, Subin was only reopening old wounds. If Subin truly cared and wanted to help her, she needed to understand that despite the car accident all those years ago, she had stood strong. Right now, she was utterly determined to make this film a success, leaving no room for regret. Staring at Jae's resolute expression, Subin's mind drifted back 10 years. She remembered the ambitious teenage Jae chasing her dreams. Lost in the memory, Subin stepped forward and gently stroked Jae's cheek. Just like Jae, her eyes sparkled with relentless passion for their dreams. With that, Subin kissed Jae. Yet after the kiss, Subin let go of her hand. She would no longer make decisions on Jae's behalf, no longer interfere in her life, and refused to let her love for Jae become an obstacle standing in her way. Jae accepted her apology. For the next period of time, she would revise the script at home. Once the draft revisions were finished, she would meet Subin as a colleague, not her first love. Understanding Jae's thoughts, Subin bid farewell to her first love. She looked forward to meeting director Jae. Jae nodded and turned to leave. When they met again, she would be a better version of herself. Xiao Jian was also striving toward a brighter future. One day while delivering takeout, Xiao Jian crashed his motorcycle. The bike broke down, and he sustained injuries. That night, gazing at the poster of Hana on the rooftop opposite, sorrow filled his eyes. He wondered how long he would have to wait before he felt worthy of the radiant Hana. The 10-year deadline was drawing near. His father had begun urging him to return home and take over the family shop, claiming 10 years of pursuing stardom was long enough. Stubborn as ever, Xiao Jian refused to abandon his dream. His father issued an ultimatum, granting him only one final month. Xiao Jian sank into despair. Seoul overflowed with talented people, and he felt insignificant. Unexpectedly, a turning point awaited him. That night, Xiao Jian received a phone call from an agency representative, none other than Hana's mother. Impressed by Xiao Jian, she wanted to sign him to her company. Desperate to succeed, Xiao Jian asked if she could make him a star within 1 month. Meanwhile, after her conversation with Xiao Jian the previous night, Hana grew eager to break free from her mother's control. She snuck into her mother's office after dark, intending to steal the company seal. Instead, she stumbled upon a screenplay that Hana often rehearsed. After reading only a few pages, she was completely captivated. It felt as if she herself had become the rebellious heroine written in the story. Little did Hana and Xiao Jian know that Ballad of the Capital would mark the beginning of their shared destiny. The brave young woman chases her dream, yet suddenly faces the crisis of being replaced. For a moment, she finds herself torn between love and career, unable to choose either. According to their promise, Jae and Subin agreed not to meet until Jae finished revising the script. Finally, the day came. Subin received a message from Jae, saying that she had completed the revised version of the script. While waiting to reunite with Jae, Subin received an unexpected guest, Zijian's father. Unable to persuade his stubborn son to give up, he came to support his dream. He handed Subin a document containing Zijian's resume and works accumulated over the past 10 years. That night, Jae also received a call from Subin, asking her to meet him at the studio. The two went through Zijian's portfolio together and were genuinely impressed by his solid acting skills. To ensure fairness, they decided to hold an open audition. Meanwhile, Xiao Jian officially signed with Representative An's agency, Hana's mother. Right after the contract was finalized, Representative An took him to a dinner gathering. To his great surprise, the person his new boss had arranged to meet was none other than Subin, his senior from high school. Subin was shocked to learn that Representative An intended to cast Xiao Jian as the male lead through internal appointment. He appreciated Zijian's talent and relentless efforts over the years, yet he strongly disapproved of him taking the shortcut through connections. Feeling wronged, Xiao Jian argued that Subin could never understand how hard he had strived for a decade. He believed he was still giving his all, just in a different way. Still, Subin could not bring himself to accept Zijian's choice to take advantage of nepotism. At this moment, his good friend Representative Su stepped in to persuade him. She reminded Subin that if he rejected Xiao Jian, Representative An would withdraw her investment and remove Jae from the co-director position. As the main investor of the film, Representative An held absolute sway over the crew. To protect Jae's dream, Subin finally compromised and agreed to cast Xiao Jian. Even so, Subin made his stance clear in front of Representative An. He stated firmly that the script belonged entirely to Jae, and he never wanted to hear anyone suggest replacing her again. After the dispute with Subin, Representative Su was in a low mood. She had been participating in a romance variety show planned by Silang recently. Noticing her gloomy state, Silang sent her a message to check on her. When their eyes met through the camera, Representative Su finally smiled again. Elsewhere, Hana ran joyfully to the rooftop of Zijian's house, bringing a seal she had stolen from her mother. She stamped her name on the back of Zijian's hand, vowing to break free from her mother's control and pursue freedom and independence from now on. However, Xiaojian pushed her hand away with a cold expression. He said her sudden visit would only bring him trouble. Hana thought she had upset him by coming uninvited, but Xiaojian's next words were brutally cold. He claimed they were never true friends. A top celebrity like her and a nobody like him existed in completely different worlds and could never be equals. Heartbroken, Hana left in tears. Yet unbeknownst to her, Xiaojian stood alone staring at their old photo, overcome with sorrow. He had unavoidable reasons for his cruel words. The next day, Subin told Yuke that Xiaojian would be the male lead. Far from being upset, Yuke was genuinely delighted. In her eyes, Xiaojian was handsome, talented, and fully deserving of the role. That evening, Yuke went to meet Xiaojian. Full of guilt, Xiaojian apologized to her. He knew how precious this film was to Yuke, yet he had gotten the role through unfair means. Yuke brushed it off, telling him he had seized the opportunity with his own efforts and owed no one an apology. She added that she and Subin were far from blind, they would never have cast him if his acting skills were unqualified. Still uneasy, Xiaojian finally confessed the truth to Yuke. He told her that Subin had only accepted him as the lead to protect Yuke's position as director. Learning the whole story, Yuke was filled with mixed emotions. That night, Yuke brought snacks to Subin but never mentioned the secret Xiaojian had told her. Just like Yuke, Subin chose to stay silent, shouldering everything alone to protect her. Meanwhile, Xiaojian watched the contents of the USB drive Yuke had given him, the one her father had passed to Subin. Inside were all his works and records of struggle from the past 10 years. Looking at his years of dedication and thinking of Hana, his eyes turned red. He finally revealed the hidden condition representative and had set for his contract. He was strictly forbidden from falling in love with Hana. Between his lifelong dream and the girl he loved, Xiaojian had chosen his career. That night, Xiaojian called his father to share the good news of landing the male lead role and thanked him sincerely. He knew his father had silently stood by his side and supported his dream for an entire decade. To break free from her mother's control, Hana planned to stay at her assistant's place starting tonight. She told her mother she was determined to live independently. Her contract with her mother would soon expire, and she would not renew it. From now on, she would no longer follow the path mapped out by her mother. The next day, Hana secretly met Yuke behind her mother's back. She recommended herself for the female lead in Love Song of the Capital. The crew had been struggling to cast the role. With Yuke's approval, Hana showed up before Yuke and Subin dressed as the movie's heroine. She performed a scene from the script on the spot. After the performance, Hana begged Subin to give her the female lead part. Yet Subin hesitated. Hana had never been regarded as a powerful actress. Still, Hana refused to give up. She told the directors her own story, saying she resembled the heroine in the script. Growing up, she had lived a seemingly smooth life arranged by adults. It was not until she met the male lead that she realized she had been trapped in a narrow world. Just like the heroine's growth in the latter half of the story, she had left her mother's agency and sworn to make it on her own. She bowed deeply, begging the directors to give her a chance to live her own life. Moved by her sincerity, Subin decided to cast her as the female lead. To Subin, Hana seemed like a completely different person that day. Meanwhile, Hana learned from Subin who had been chosen as the male lead. That night, she went up to the rooftop at Xiaojian's house again and asked why he had signed with her mother. Xiaojian revealed the deal he had made with Representative In. Hana pressed him, had he ever loved her? Had there been something between them? Faced with her pointed questions, Xiaojian flatly denied everything, claiming he had never loved her. Staring at their crumpled-up photo on the ground, Hana left, hurt and dejected. Xiaojian began studying the script intently, filling it with notes. He was determined to seize this opportunity. Later that evening at his father's restaurant, his father sent him out to deliver an order. When Xiaojian arrived, he found Subin had placed the takeout, only to get him over for a script read-through. Hana was there too. Learning she would play his on-screen lover, Xiaojian grew even more conflicted. After the read-through, Hana said things she did not really mean to Xiaojian. Seeing what was going on between them, Subin suggested they try dating for real. Hana asked whether Xiaojian could fall in love with her. Xiaojian still would not open up his heart. He only said that since their characters were lovers in the script, he would do his utmost to fall for the heroine in the story. Yuke brought up love, mentioning a passionate relationship she had in college. Subin grew jealous and asked about their high school days. What about them back then at 18? Had love existed between them? Yuke nodded. It had been love at 18, and it still was. She brought up how Subin had accepted Xiaojian to protect her. She could no longer ignore how deeply he cared for her. Overcome by his feelings, Subin kissed her. This time, Yuke did not pull away. Once all pre-production work was finished, Subin took Yuke to the film set one night. Guided by Subin, Yuke closed her eyes and pictured the filming process. Then she sat down in her director's chair. From this moment on, she and Subin would join hands to fulfill their shared dream. Filming officially began for their movie Ballad of the Capital. Yet shortly after production started, Representative In, Hana's mother, suddenly stormed onto the set and demanded that Hana quit the project. Subin stepped forward to stop her, whispering that word of the incident would do her no good if it spread. Hearing this, Representative In instantly changed her demeanor, pretending she had come to surprise the crew. Privately, however, she remained furious and insisted on halting the filming. Subin reminded her that she had no right to make such a demand. Unrelenting, Representative In claimed that as the funder, she held the power to decide the crew's fate. She threatened to replace Hana or completely withdraw investment from the film. Unexpectedly, to protect Hana, Xiaojian volunteered to drop out of the cast if it meant Hana could stay. Representative and accepted his deal and warned Hana that all of this was the consequence of her rebellion. With Xiaojian stepping down, Representative Su quickly began searching for a new male lead and urged Subin to make a decision as soon as possible, for the production budget was draining by the day. Still, Subin believed Representative and would never truly let Xiaojian leave. He saw through her bluff. She was merely using Xiaojian to pressure Hana. Just as Subin predicted, Representative and took no action against Xiaojian. Instead, she seized the situation to threaten her daughter. To save Xiaojian, Hana had no choice but to renew her contract with her mother. For the first time in her life, her attempt to pursue independence ended in failure. Yet after signing the contract, all Hana could think about was Xiaojian. For her, sacrificing her freedom by renewing the contract was no longer a reluctant compromise. Immediately after Hana signed the new agreement, Representative and released official news, confirming Hana and Xiaojian as the lead actors of Ballad of the Capital, directed by Subin. Yuki worried for Hana, but Subin assured her that Hana would be fine, as it was a choice she had made on her own. Reading the news, Xiaojian was filled with sorrow. He knew full well that he had been running away from his feelings for Hana all along. That night, Subin's father broke into the studio with a baseball bat, vandalizing the place while searching for his runaway wife. He unexpectedly ran into Representative In. Upon learning that she was the film's investor, he burst into wild laughter, mocking her as a crazy woman. Representative In fired back without hesitation, admitting she had been crazy enough to date a married man and give birth to his child. It was then revealed that Subin was Representative N's illegitimate son, born from her father's affair. Right at that moment, Subin and Yuki returned. Subin's father slapped Subin across the face and demanded to know where his wife was. When Subin refused to answer, his father spewed hurtful words, accusing him of siding with the mother who had abandoned him. Representative In tried to deny her maternal bond with Subin, but Subin's father continued to rant insolently, even sneering at Yuki and her past car accident trauma. In the face of their cruelty, Yuki firmly stood up for Subin. She condemned Representative In and Subin's father for being equally cold-hearted, devoid of any familial affection. Subin's father questioned why Subin had cast Hana as the female lead when she was on the verge of leaving him. Subin knew he and Hana were half-siblings sharing the same mother, but he explained that his casting decision was purely professional, with no personal motives involved. Hearing this, Representative In warned Subin to keep personal feelings out of the filming process. After his father and Representative In left one after another, Subin shut himself alone in a room. Fearing for him, Yuki walked in moments later and held him tightly. At this moment, she could fully understand the deep wounds hidden in Subin's heart. Subin finally told Yuki about his painful childhood. For a period when he was young, his adoptive mother had taken him to live with his uncle's family. There, he overheard his uncle and aunt gossiping privately, saying that he looked more and more like Representative In as he grew up, and praising his adoptive mother for being overly tolerant to raise her husband's illegitimate child. When Subin's father learned of their words, he warned his wife that Subin was his own son. No one could take him away. That day, Subin witnessed his adoptive mother's tears and grief. To shield her from his father's abuse, the young Subin went to meet his birth mother, Representative In. He hoped she would take him in. He believed that without him around, his father would stop flying into rages and his mother would stop crying. Yet no matter how he begged, Representative In remained cold-hearted. She even brought Subin back to his father, refusing to raise him under any circumstance. It was his adoptive mother who opened her arms for him. From that moment on, Subin recognized only her as his mother. For Subin, all his growing-up years were shrouded in darkness. Meeting Yuki, who chased her dreams fearlessly, became the sole ray of light in his life. Yuki's eyes softened. For her too, the scars on her legs were no longer marks of trauma, but proof of her love for Subin. The film was no longer merely her personal long-cherished wish, it was a dream she wanted to fulfill side by side with him. Moved by Yuki's tender words, Subin kissed her passionately, and they spent the night together. The next morning, Yuki casually remarked that it had been a long time since she had shared a bed with someone. Instantly jealous, Subin kept pressing her about who the last man had been, whether he was the one she had once loved deeply. On their way to the film set, Subin kept on questioning her. Yuki hesitated, only saying he used to be a handsome drama department student. The assistant director put up a "no workplace romance" notice on set. He had already found 3 couples dating among the crew, and warned Yuki and Subin to report immediately if a 4th pair turned up. Subin nodded obediently, only to sneakily tear the sticker off the moment he turned around. Hana was in excellent form that day. Even though she had renewed her contract with her mother, she knew she was no longer the obedient girl she used to be. Subin pulled Xiaojian aside and secretly asked about Yuki's ex-boyfriend. To his surprise, Xiaojian counted on his fingers and revealed Yuki had had more than one ex-partner, one of whom was a very famous actor. While filming, Xiaojian's gaze kept drifting toward Hana. She captivated him, both as herself and as the character in the script. Meanwhile, Representative Sue was appearing on a dating reality show. Per the show's rules, contestants had to pick their preferred female participant and head to her room. That night, however, Representative Sue received a message from Silang. Instead of visiting any contestant's room, he went to meet Silang and slept with him again. Afterwards, knowing he had broken their prior agreement, Representative Sue prepared to quit the show as promised. Silang forbade him from doing so, ordering him to keep playing his part on camera. Their third and fourth encounters would have to wait until the show wrapped up. Back on set, Yuki and Subin got news that the popular actor Takashi Kaneshiro had agreed to take on a role in their movie. At hearing the name, Yuki panicked. During the group dinner, she kept kicking Xiaojian under the table, warning him not to blab. After dinner, the assistant director intended to catch crew members sneaking out for late-night walks. Yuki texted Subin privately, planning to go to his room later. Too impatient to wait, Subin left the drunk Xiaojian inside the elevator and pulled Yuki straight into his room, where they made love once more. In the next room, the intoxicated Xiaojian tried to unlock a door with his transit card. Hana came over and opened it for him. Overcome by drunken impulse, Xiaojian embraced her from behind and finally confessed his true feelings. He was genuinely in love with her. Hana pulled free from his hold. If loving her was a punishment for him, then he would have to keep enduring it. The following day on set, a falling signboard nearly hit Yuki. Before Subin could react, a handsome man stepped in to protect her. Subin remained unaware that his romantic rival had arrived. A beautiful woman is fiercely pursued by two handsome men. To win her heart, the two rivals engage in open and hidden conflicts, neither willing to back down. Yuki and Subin's movie officially goes into production. A falling signboard nearly hits Yuki on set. At the critical moment, a man leaps forward to shield her. He is the famous actor Takashi Kaneshiro. Noticing the seemingly close bond between Yuki and Takashi, Subin hides nearby to eavesdrop on their conversation. He watches Takashi pinch Yuki's cheek. Overcome with jealousy, Subin quickly pulls Yuki away under the pretext of filming. Pressed by Subin, Yuki admits that Takashi was her college boyfriend, the one she once loved deeply. Years have passed, yet Takashi still seems to hold lingering feelings for her. Between shoots, Takashi sends a food truck to the film crew. Posters cheering for Yuki are plastered all over it, labeling himself Yuki's #1 fan. While Yuki is moved, Takashi keeps pulling her to take selfies together. Seeing the former lovers acting intimately, Subin grows more jealous. He repeatedly steps into the frame on purpose to block Takashi. Not to be outdone, Takashi hints during the meal that there are not enough seats at the table, hoping to spend time alone with Yuki. But Subin fetches a chair from another table, refusing to let Yuki out of his sight for even half a minute. Yuki chokes while eating. Takashi immediately hands her water. Right in front of Subin, he brings up their old intimate nicknames and asks for Yuki's contact information. To ease the awkward atmosphere, Yuki types her number into Takashi's phone, only to find her number is already saved on his device. Watching Yuki getting tangled up with her past lover, Subin feels like an outsider, consumed by jealousy. After lunch, Yuki stands on a bridge guiding Takashi through his next scene. Subin puts on headphones to eavesdrop. He hears Yuki speaking to Takashi without formal honorifics, admitting she is happy about their reunion. Takashi shares fond memories of their time together. A sudden gust of wind blows, and Takashi wraps his coat around Yuki to protect her. Witnessing the sight, Subin burns with envy. On the bridge, Yuki intentionally keeps her distance and reminds Takashi to keep their relationship strictly director and actor on set. Takashi agrees. Still, Subin can no longer hold back and asks to talk to him privately. In private, Subin gets straight to the point. He states he would never have cast Takashi for the guest role had he known about his past romance with Yuki, and tells him to behave himself on set. Takashi refuses to back off. He teases Subin, saying he already knows Subin was Yuki's first love. He remarks that their breakup paved the way for his own relationship with Yuki. Right in front of Subin, Takashi brings up their old kissing moments, insinuating that Subin is nothing more than an old first love, leaving Subin speechless. The next scene is the lead couple's kiss. Since it is his first time filming a kiss scene, Subin runs a rehearsal with Xiaojian, even offering to stand in for the female lead. But Xiaojian cannot bring himself to kiss Subin. Then the real female lead, Hannah, arrives. She quickly slips into character, takes off Xiaojian's glasses with tender eyes, wraps her arms around his neck, confesses her affection, and kisses him without hesitation. Stunned, Xiaojian can no longer tell whether it is acting or reality. Mid-shoot, the crew suggests a team-building trip. Even though he is only a guest actor, Takashi insists on joining. Yuki has no choice but to let him come. On the way to the gathering, Subin's car screen shows that Takashi keeps sending photos to Yuki. Yuki quickly cuts off the connection. Subin demands her phone. He is overcome with jealousy, convinced that Takashi knows the Yuki from her college days. The version of Yuki he had never known. Subin also states plainly that he dislikes Takashi intensely. He asks Yuki to bear with him if he ever acts childish out of jealousy. Meanwhile, the relationship between Yuki's friend S-Rang and Representative SEO is full of tension. On the romance variety show produced by S-Rang, a female guest falls for Representative SEO. Yet her confession gets turned down, for Representative SEO claims he already has someone in his heart. Srang knows full well that he is the one SEO is referring to. Still, seeing the heartbroken guest weep bitterly, Srang is consumed by guilt. A coworker tells Srang that the female guest's feelings for Representative SEO are genuine, not some fleeting casual fling. This leaves Srang confused. Could what he shares with SEO be nothing more than a short-lived thrill-seeking affair? As the show draws to a close, every guest must fasten a love-symbolizing handcuff onto the person they are drawn to. Though already rejected, the female guest still chooses Representative SEO without hesitation. While offering his apologies, SEO cuts the handcuff apart without second thought. That night, Representative SEO finds Srang and confesses he joined the show for him. Srang feels terrible for the female guest and can no longer keep up their ambiguous back and forth. SEO tries to hold him back, warning that if Srang walks away this time, everything between them will end. Even so, Srang lets go of his hand. Back at the film crew's team-building venue, everyone prepares for a ball-snatching game. Takashi joins in and pulls Yuki to be his partner. Filled with jealousy again, Subin signs up with Hana, determined to beat Takashi. Soon the game devolves into a petty contest between Subin and Takashi, hurling balls at one another, completely ignoring those around them. When Yuki trips and falls, Subin rushes over at once to check on her. Watching Subin tend to Yuki so tenderly, Takashi is the one who grows unsettled. At night, Takashi skillfully grills meat for the group. Subin then shows off fancy barbecuing skills at the grill stand, turning the barbecue session into yet another competition between the two men. Holding a freshly grilled piece of meat, Yuki hesitates, unsure whom to give it to, until Takashi snatches and eats it first. Hana is upset with Xiaojian and keeps drinking glass after glass. Xiaojian goes to get her a hangover drink, only to find her gone when he returns. He searches anxiously and finds her alone in a quiet corner. Annoyed that Xiaojian still addresses her as his senior, Hana tells him there is no one around and urges him to be bolder. She stands on tiptoe to kiss him, but Xiaojian restrains himself and averts his gaze. Deeply disappointed, Hana calls him a coward. Takashi tells Yuki this is the spot where they once stargazed together. In the past, he would bring her here every time she wanted to break up. No stars dot the sky tonight, yet Takashi makes a firm confession. He still loves her just as he used to, even under this dim sky. Not wanting to give him false hope, Yuki makes it clear she is already in a relationship with Subin. Right then Subin walks over, firmly takes Yuki's hand, and reminds Takashi that he and Yuki are more than former first loves, asking him not to cross the line. Beyond romance, trouble is brewing. The next day, a crowd of reporters block the film set. They press Subin whether he is Representative A's illegitimate son, and whether he and Hana are half-siblings sharing the same mother. Shocked by the questions, Hana has never had any idea such a blood tie existed between Subin and herself. With the recording leaked, Subin and Hana are swarmed by the press, landing them in unprecedented trouble. Hana confronts Representative An, demanding to know whether she and Subin are half-siblings sharing the same mother. Representative An refuses to give a straight answer, only urging her daughter to get back to filming. Faced with her self-serving mother, Hana blurts out impulsive remarks in a fit of temper, and Representative An slaps her hard across the face. Stung by the slap, Hana storms off the set, yet reporters are still lying in wait outside. When she is on the verge of breaking down, Jian steps in to steady her. He secretly hands her a key and tells her to take shelter at his place first. Hana's disappearance halts the movie shoot. Subin brings the revised shooting schedule to meet Yuji, who hugs her and tells her to look after herself while he temporarily takes charge of the set. Still, Yuji lacks sufficient experience. Faced with the disrupted shot list, he grows frantic. Just then his friend Srang calls. Learning that Srang has just quit his job, Yuji asks him to come help out on set. The next day on location, Yuji sincerely thanks the crew members who have chosen to stay. He vows he will not back down and will stick it out alongside everyone until the very end. His sincerity and determination move the team, who cheer him on. Moments later, Srang arrives, lifting Yuji's spirits. Short-handed for extras, the crew drafts Srang to fill in. He puts on a costume to play a corpse, only to find Representative SEO lying beside him as another background extra. Neither expected to meet again under such circumstances. Representative SEO is filled with bittersweet emotion, remarking on their strange reunion. Sadly, not every encounter leads to a happy ending. Srang turns him down once more. Representative SEO chooses not to press the matter. Beneath the sunset, they agree to turn away at the same time, drawing a hasty close to their fleeting crush. Yuji keeps busy on set. Directing his first official feature film, he grows flustered. He makes the actors run take after take, calling cut repeatedly. Jian reassures him, telling him to stay calm and voicing his faith in Yuji. Offset, Representative An deals with the breaking scandal. Hana bears the brunt of the fallout. Numerous advertisers are rushing to terminate their contracts. Online forums overflow with scathing comments targeting her. While Representative An frets, Hana hides out at Jian's place. Malicious online troll posts weigh heavily on her mood. Jian sends her a message, reminding her not to go hungry and telling her to help herself to whatever is in the fridge. Taped to his refrigerator is a photo of him and Hana. Staring at the precious snapshot, Hana whispers to herself that what she truly needs right now is Jian's shoulder to lean on. Subin comes to check on Hana, saying Yuji sent her to look after her. Hana vents her pent-up feelings. Subin sees straight through her. What truly hurts Hana is not netizens' criticism, but her mother Representative On's attitude. She comforts Hana, insisting that nothing has really changed, that Hana and Representative On are real family. She promises to visit every day until Hana regains her composure and returns to set. Hana states she will not abandon the film or the role she fought so hard to obtain. The scandal puts the movie's funding in jeopardy. Representative SEO urges Representative On to release an official statement. If she keeps silent, public backlash will worsen and the project may never get finished. Representative On remains stubborn, fearing that admitting her maternal tie to Subin will trigger a media firestorm. Representative SEO presents documents showing key investors have suspended additional funding. If she persists, production will grind to a halt. To make matters worse, heavy snow falls on the set. Crew members turn to Yuji, their director, asking whether to stand by or switch to indoor shooting. Yuji himself is at a loss and tells everyone to take a half-hour break. He notices how seasoned every other crew member is, handling the sudden bad weather with practiced ease. After half an hour, Yuji sadly informs the crew that shooting must be suspended due to delayed funding. As director, he apologizes and pledges to resolve the issues as soon as possible. Plagued by one crisis after another, morale sinks. Some crew members start considering moving to other productions to make a living. Yuji suffers the most. Gazing at the compromised shooting environment, he thinks of the rapport he has built with his team, overcome with sorrow. In the wintry night wind and snow, he picks up his fallen script and brushes furiously at the dirt and stains on its pages. At that moment, Subin's voice rings out from behind him. She steps forward and embraces Yuji. In her boyfriend's arms, the tears Yuji has been holding back finally spill over. The next day, Subin meets Representative On. She frankly reveals the real reason she cast Hana as the female lead. It is not because of their blood tie, but because Hana bears a striking resemblance to the film's heroine. Both long to break free from the cages built by their own kin. Subin urges Representative On to reflect on what truly is best for Hana. She delivers an ultimatum: in 3 days, whether Representative On consents or not, she will hold a press conference to lay everything bare. For Subin, she will do whatever it takes to protect this film and the person she loves deeply. The third day arrives, the day of the press conference. Yuji ties Subin's necktie for her. He worries about her facing the reporters alone. Subin gazes back with unwavering resolve and tells Yuji not to fret. This time, she will not run away as she used to. Before the press conference, Subin visits her foster mother at the elderly woman's familiar home, only to learn that her mother has already left. All she leaves behind is a letter. In the letter, the mother apologizes to Subin. She writes that fear kept her from escaping the hell created by her husband, and that she has dragged her son down along with her. Now she is going in search of freedom, so her son can break away from their devil-like father. Understanding her birth mother's intentions, Subin feels sorrow yet makes no attempt to track her down. Instead, she carries her mother's wishes with her to the press conference. Facing the press, Subin admits that Representative On is indeed her biological mother. Still, for her, there is only one real mother, her foster mother, who has raised and cared for her over the years and endured everything for her sake. As for Hana, she had no idea about her connection with Representative On before the scandal broke. Even with Subin's explanation, the media keeps hounding her, and Subin sinks into anxiety. Unexpectedly, Representative On steps boldly in front of the cameras. She bravely acknowledges her mother-daughter bond with Subin, while stressing that she herself was also a victim. Decades ago, she was deceived by Subin's father and gave birth to an illegitimate child. Where she once cared deeply about her reputation, her daughter is all that matters now. She refuses to be a mother who brings shame to Hana. At last, Representative On acts like a brave mother. Watching the press conference footage, Hana is overwhelmed with mixed emotions. That evening, Hana dines with her mother at a restaurant. She has always known her mother loves her, just in the wrong way. Now Hana hopes they can be an ordinary mother-daughter pair. She wishes her mother would learn to let go. Hana believes even if she steps away, she will always be her mother's daughter. Representative On tries to keep up a tough front, yet her eyes turn red. Hana wraps her arms around her mother from behind. The years-long rift between mother and daughter is finally mended. Nevertheless, the investors remain unyielding. To save the film and safeguard Yuji's dream, Subin is willing to step down, on the condition that investors allow Yuji to stay on as director. That night, Subin kisses Yuji out of the blue. She loves him so deeply that she is ready to make sacrifices and concessions for him. With her boyfriend's support, the young woman savors the joy of realizing her dream. Yet amid their passionate romance, she is forced to make a choice: chase her dream, or stay by her lover's side. To protect Yuki's dream, Subin is willing to step down as the film's director. Upon learning this, Yuki is overcome with emotion and cannot bear to work on set without Subin. Early the next morning, Subin finds a note left by Yuki, saying she has gone to sort things out. Outside, Yuki has gathered the entire crew, all fully prepared to stand united in defense of their director. Inside the room, Representative In, the major investor, hesitates, uncertain whether to sign the document removing Subin from the project. At that moment, Yuki bursts in with the crew. One after another, they firmly state they will walk off the production if Subin leaves. For them, the film represents romance, loyalty, and their precious dreams. These seemingly reckless, idealistic words move Representative In. After a moment of reflection, she sets down her seal and promises to give it careful thought. That night, having made up her mind, Representative In meets Subin privately. She has come up with a solution. Subin will return to set, while she herself pulls out as investor and producer. She is confident the remaining investors will agree once she steps back. Subin understands this will cost Representative In dearly. Yet tonight, Representative In speaks with the tenderness of a mother, saying she has gained more than she will lose, and wishes Subin the happy ending she deserves. Once the crisis is resolved, Lee throws herself joyfully into Subin's arms. Free of burdens, they head out happily for dinner. In each other's eyes, they still shine brightly. With Subin back on set, the crew brims with renewed energy. When the final scene wraps, principal photography on the movie is complete. The staff embrace, high-five and shed tears, fully aware of all the hardships they have endured. After the wrap-up party, Lee is slightly drunk. Subin crouches down to give her a piggyback ride. Lee climbs onto his back without hesitation. She thanks him for his steady shoulders, then asks about their next film. Subin replies without hesitation that he wants to make every future movie together with her, for his dream of filmmaking began with Lee. Lee nods softly, yet her eyes flicker with unease. Later at home, Lee rewatches a zombie short film she shot back in high school. Though technically unpolished, it brings tears to her eyes. She marvels at how fearless she used to be. The next day, her mother tidies her room and sees behind-the-scene footage playing. Not fully understanding the film, she smiles seeing how happy her daughter looks on screen, finally grasping how much filmmaking means to Lee. Sobered up, Lee confides her worries to her mother. Even after finishing a full-length feature, she still feels like an amateur. If she stops growing, she fears she will become nothing more than someone who got lucky with one movie. She refuses to stagnate, she wants to learn and fill in her gaps in ability. Instead of criticizing her as before, her mother encourages her to move forward fearlessly following her own heart. Bolstered by her mother's words, Lee's inner resolve hardens. During a work meeting with Subin, Lee is distracted. She tries to voice her thoughts, but Subin's mother arrives and waves to him from afar, telling him she has sent divorce papers to his father. Subin walks over and hugs his mother, praising her for her courage. When she voices her anxiety, Subin reassures her that he will always be her son, no matter what happens. Back in the studio, Lee researches film study abroad programs. When Subin returns, she asks whether studying film overseas would be the right path for her. Subin believes on-set experience is just as valuable as formal schooling. Lee, however, remains troubled. Nearly everyone on the crew has received formal film training and converses fluently in industry jargon. Alone, she feels out of place and riddled with inferiority. Hearing this, Subin pulls out the script for their next film, titled Dream. He wrote it back in the United States, and the story is about him and Lee. He wants to co-direct it with Lee and asks her to revise the screenplay. Lee does not give an immediate answer. What comes after this? Must she always stay beside Subin, relying on his support and living under his shadow? Back home, she sets Subin's script aside and focuses entirely on the local director's study abroad program. She has formed brand new, independent ideas about her future and her dreams. Meanwhile, following the film wrap-up, Hina and Xiaojian's relationship reaches a turning point. That night, Xiaojian offers his shoulder to Hina and kisses her under the night sky. This time, he refuses to be cowardly any longer. After the kiss, Xiaojian helps Hina look for an apartment. Since she lacks life experience, he takes care of everything. He even lies to the real estate agent that they are newlyweds. When questioned by outsiders, he sincerely introduces Hina as his girlfriend, officially confirming their romance. Yet joy comes with bad news. Xiaojian learns his father has cancer, with only 3 months left to live. Overwhelmed with grief, he blames his father for keeping it a secret. The father remains stubborn. He would rather be seen as a bad father than become a burden holding his son back. He tells Xiaojian not to come home weeping after his passing, but to stay in Seoul for good and keep chasing his dream. Hoping to grant his father a final wish, Xiaojian asks Lee and Subin if Romance of the Capital can be released within 3 months. He wants his father to see him star in a movie before he dies. Subin and Lee nod. A full theatrical release in 3 months is impossible, but they can finish a rough cut for a small private screening. Lee and Subin send out invitations for the preview. On the same day, Lee receives a call from the program committee reviewing applicants for the director's study abroad opportunity. She needs to submit the rough cut of her film together with supporting documents. Lee jots down the required document list on Subin's script, only to be caught by Subin. Realizing what she intends to do, Subin tries to persuade her to stay. Lee tells him that staying by his side will keep her stuck. To grow into a genuine filmmaker, she must break free from his protection. Subin still pleads with her. To him, Lee matters more than any movie. That night, Xiaojian tidies up his father's shop and hands him an invitation to the special screening, wanting his father to be his very first audience. 2 days later, the screening begins. Everyone close to Lee and Subin shows up. Xiaojian introduces Hina, his girlfriend, to his father, who is overjoyed. As night falls, the private preview commences. Watching the joys, sorrows, love and hatred unfold on screen, the audience is swept by waves of emotion. The post-credits scene shows a photo of Xiaojian and his father. The screening is the most precious gift Xiaojian could give his dad. When the screening ends, Xiaojian's father steps onto the stage and sings a song with his guitar, a dream from his youth. For one night, he wants to be as cool as his son. Snow begins to fall. Yuki looks toward Subin with resolute eyes. Before the screening, she had already told him, this time, she chooses not him, but her own dream. She will let go of his hand and go create her own legendary moments. Yuki makes up her mind to study filmmaking abroad, yet Subin refuses to give up on their relationship. Yuki's overseas program will last 2 years. He tells her he is willing to wait and does not want to break up under any circumstances. Yuki explains that if they stay together, she will keep relying on him and fail to grow. In tears, she pulls her hand away from Subin. To chase her dream and become a better version of herself, she has to make the painful choice to end their romance. Back home, Yuki composes herself and fills out the application for the director's study abroad program. Good news soon arrives, she gets accepted. Overjoyed, she returns Subin's new script dream to the studio. After a long night of reflection, Subin decides not to stand in her way. He once wanted to give Yuki her dream back. He cannot become an obstacle on her path. Yuki gives a soft smile. Thanks to Subin, she has reclaimed her dream, and she will nurture it over the next 2 years overseas. Subin gives her an encouraging hug and bids her farewell, promising to always be her most loyal supporter no matter where she goes. As Yuki walks away, flashbacks flood her mind, all the moments they co-directed their film, precious prologues to her pursuit of dreams. Subin runs after her and hands her the script dream. He does not wish to tie her down with it, but hopes it can serve as a buoy that gives her strength whenever she needs it, just as Romance of the Capital once sustained him. Yuki accepts the script, knowing they will soon be far apart. Before departure, Yuki's mother packs plenty of food and supplies for her and slips her 1,000,000 won, fearing her daughter will suffer in a foreign land. The day Yuki leaves coincides with the completion of the final cut for Romance of the Capital. Investors heap praise on the film, yet director Subin's eyes are heavy with sorrow. Without Yuki, he feels he has lost his most treasured treasure. Representative SEO sees his heartache and hands over his car key, urging him to rush to the airport while there is still time. Yuki has already boarded her flight. She does not know that Subin himself wrote her recommendation letter. In it, he describes Yuki as a glittering dream chaser, a filmmaker who refuses to lose hope in desperate times. He admits how badly he once wanted to stay inside her world, yet he understands he must set her free so this brilliant soul may shine on a bigger stage. Subin arrives at the airport filled with longing, only to find Yuki is gone. All he finds is a hair tie she dropped. Overseas, Yuki buries herself in writing day after day. Seasons pass. 1 year later, she finishes the first draft of her independently written screenplay. On that same day, the VIP screening of Romance of the Capital takes place. The screening goes well and the celebration banquet is lively. The assistant director gets thoroughly drunk, rambling in his intoxication and accidentally calling Yuki. Her voice comes through the phone. The call lasts merely 20-odd seconds, yet it reignites a glimmer in Subin's eyes. For those brief moments, it feels as if she is beside him. Romance of the Capital hits theaters. Every pair of lovers in the story steps into new chapters of life. Xiaojian and Hina remain deeply in love, photographed by reporters much to Representative An's frustration. Representative SEO runs into Esrang at a bookstore. Having quit her old job, Esrang is now a best-selling author. Their eyes meet, and both sense their bond is far from over. Only Subin drowns in endless longing for Yuki. He often wakes from dreams where she is near, then sinks into apathy and reality. He writes no scripts and shoots no films, driving Representative SEO to exasperation. Pressed relentlessly by SEO, Subin finally pulls himself together for an interview. The interviewer is a former senior colleague of Yuki's, now working as an independent producer. Everyone else keeps moving forward with time. Mid-interview, a familiar voice echoes from the doorway. Subin looks up, it is Yuki. Without hesitation, he runs toward her. 2 years abroad have made her sharp and confident. She tells him her film has been shortlisted for a new director award and she has returned for the film festival. Fearing she will leave again, Subin is relieved when Yuki hands him the script dream. Through study and experience, she has grown strong enough to stand beside him as an equal. She invites him to co-direct Dream together. Subin nods and kisses her. After 2 years apart, he will hold tight to both their love and their dreams. Not long afterward, Yuki wins the award for her directorial work. Subin presents her with flowers on stage. Yuki shares her journey, proud of how far she has come. She vows to keep living their fierce, warlike romance. With Yuki's return, light floods back into Subin's life. Everyone around them steps into brand new phases. Walking side by side one night, Yuki kisses Subin, and they fall passionately in love once more. The next morning, Subin gives back the hair tie he picked up at the airport 2 years before and places a long-awaited ring on Yuki's finger. Their script has been retitled To You, My Dream. For Yuki and Subin, each other's dreams are their most precious gift. End of drama.